Absolutely. So hopefully you can now see my slides. In the meantime, feel free to put any questions or anything in the comments. I will come back to the questions and everything at the end. If by any chance there is an issue with you hearing me or anything, just unmute yourself, shout at me, let me know. Because obviously when I'm looking at my screen, I can't see all your lovely faces. But let's get cracking. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lenka, and I'm on a mission to help ambitious entrepreneurs leverage social media to achieve their goals. I don't want you to get discouraged by this word ambitious entrepreneurs, because for me, ambitious entrepreneur is anyone who is doing something that they're passionate about, and be it setting up a business, having a startup, or working or for a charity. There's so much in common that people like yourself have. It's the passion, it's the drive, it's the dedication to doing what you do, to helping people that you help, and to really ultimately trying to make our world a better place. Little bit of housekeeping. The session is being recorded and you will get access to the replay. So if at any point you have to, nip out and something you miss a little bit, you forget what I said, you will get access to the recording as well as the slides. So in case something is too fast or it's little and you can't read it properly, you want more time afterwards, you will get the slides and some further resources afterwards. As I said, in the meantime, type your questions in the chat and I'll answer all of them at the end of the session. I have a little extra time above the hour and a half that we have officially dedicated to this session. So I'm happy to stay as long as needed to answer all your questions. As well as at the end, I will give you my phone number and my email. And I'm always encouraging everyone, if you want to have a quick one-to-one conversation, I'm more than happy to then answer all your specific individual questions and help you specifically, your organization, your team to really understand social media. Because obviously this is an introduction to social media and I'm trying to design a session that will be helpful to everyone, but you're coming from different levels of knowledge with different perspectives. So there will be differences in how much I can help you within this training. But I want to get started with what is social media marketing and help you understand how it actually works and how you can really use it and utilize it for your organization to really achieve the goals that you want. Few misconceptions about social media. Social media, it's actually not free, even though, yes, you can join for free, you can set up a profile for free, but it's very easy to think that everything is for free. I want you to remember that social media is not free because it still requires your time, your effort, your energy, all the resources that you might need for graphic design, copywriting, blogging, video creation. There's so much that comes into social media marketing. It's important to remember that actually it is not free. It is still a cost that you need to consider when you're putting together your social media plan, when you're putting the budget together to what you can dedicate, what resources, what people you can dedicate to social media marketing aside from anything else. Social media also is not a quick win or a silver bullet. So it is a wonderful tool and I love social media marketing, but it is not something that will make you an overnight success, that will overnight solve all your problems, that by simply posting on one platform once a week or once a month will really change the world. As I said, there is certain dedication required. It takes some resources, some time. And ultimately, social media is not about you. And we will talk a lot more about what it means today, why social media is not about you. But it's one thing to remember that even though this session is all about how you can use social media, how you can really get the most out of social media, when you are doing your social media marketing, when you are creating your posts, engaging, planning, doing all those things, keep in mind that social media marketing is ultimately not about you. And another disclaimer is you don't want to build your house on a rented land. So as I said, social media is a wonderful thing, but it wasn't made for you. And it's still, even though it's a wonderful tool that you can use, it is not designed for you. It is designed for those organizations, be it Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, and for their shareholders to make them money. So yes, you can use it. Yes, you can benefit from it, but you want to remember that it is still a rented land that you're building on, that an accident, an attack, a thing can happen, and your Facebook profile, Instagram account can get hacked, can get this blocked, something can happen. So you want to make sure that on aside from actually putting effort in social media marketing, you have something along that's working with social media that is yours, that you are fully in control, which really it's important to remember that social media can't stand alone. If you do social media on its own, you only do Facebook and nothing else, then it is a dangerous because you're really putting your organization under threat of be it a hack or blockage or anything else. But you also will not see the benefits of social media marketing if you are not mixing it with other organic marketing or even paid marketing. But my focus is organic marketing strategies. And organic marketing can include content. It's your blog posts on the website, can be longer form ebooks, could be white papers, could be any kind of giveaways. It could be the PR, can be press releases in the media coverage, can be your emails, newsletters, any kind of email automation. It can be chatbots. It can be offline events. It can be traditional marketing in terms of can be flyers. It can be radio or TV and anything like that. So it's always important to think that social media can't stand alone, and social media is building your house on a rented land. You want to think of social media in the broader context of organic marketing, especially content and web and email really work nicely as a tandem when you think of content on your website, distribution to your email, plus then social media in the mix. It usually is an incredibly powerful formula. Because, as I said, social media profiles, social media accounts, social media platforms, they're not made for you. And even though we can talk about how you can hack the algorithm to work in your favor a little bit, social media algorithms were not made for you. All the features that, all the things that we can say that this is how social media algorithms work, they're not designed to show your posts to more people. They are designed to keep people on the platforms for longer so they get to see more ads that people are paying for. So then the organizations like Facebook, again, Twitter, LinkedIn, they get money from it. So ultimately, it's important to remember that algorithms were not made for you and they will never work 100% in your favor, but we can work to learn how to hack them and how to really play with them, play with what they want from us because they're trying to achieve something on their own. So you might see lots of posts that say, likes are the most important thing, comments are the most important thing, shares are the most important thing, saves are, for example, on Instagram, the most important thing. All these things are just hacks, they're just tactics. They're strategies that may short term work for some people, but ultimately they're not rules by which the big platforms would be living. They're tips and tricks that other people might be giving you. And yes, they can work, but they can also take you into a rabbit hole of believing that if you do this or that, the algorithm will work for you. It will not. Because ultimately, we have two sides of the coin. We have the one side where the big organizations, the platforms want to make money, and users want to simply have fun. People don't go to see social media to be sold to. We're not logging to our Facebook account, to our Instagram account to see advertisements, promotions, to see brand content. We are ultimately joining as people social media to connect with our friends and families, to be educated, to be entertained, to be inspired. And that's how you can really use these platforms for your organization to connect with your, I will call it customers, but the word can be defined as you want to. They can be people that you're helping, the people that your charity is actually serving. It can be people who potentially might volunteer. It can be trustees. You can define the word customer as you want, and obviously you will have different kinds of customer within your organization as well. So I know that I've talked about lots of the negative things and things that don't work and that you shouldn't do, but how do you actually achieve a social media marketing success? In my experience, it is to start with strategy and not tactics. I don't want you to be scared. It's hopefully not going to be super boring, but I really want to stress out that being strategic and having a plan, having a little bit of a broader understanding and see how social media works and how it fits into marketing and how it fits into a communication plan, it is more important ultimately than knowing that if you should be using 30 hashtags on Instagram or 10 hashtags, or you should be posting at 5 p.m. or 6 a.m. And I have a very simple approach to social media strategy. It is a simple 5-step strategy where you have 5 questions. And the moment you get answers to these 5 questions, you have your strategy ready. So the first question is why, and it looks on your business, your why. The second question is who. It's your audience, is your customers, is the people you're trying to reach, attract, connect, sell, support. 3 is where, which platforms, but obviously by extent also where in the spheres of marketing. Is it really social media that you should be using? And I will never say that every business 100% has to be on social media. There might be other ways, as I said, it could be email, it can be web marketing, it could be traditional newspaper advertising, it could be PR, it could be new flyers. There are many options. And so the where, obviously in our case, means where on social media, which platform should be the right for you. But it also can mean where outside of social media you could really reach your audience, your people. Fourth question is what? And it's what content? What is actually the message, the content, the information that you're putting out there that you should be creating, scheduling, and then sharing on your channels? And ultimately, it is how much, what is the intensity, how frequently should you be posting? And that is connected to your goals. What do you want to achieve? How would success look to you? And having a little bit of an idea how to measure, analyze, and report on your social media results. So, starting with question number 1, why? Who are you? I'm sure that I don't need to stress out to you guys that really knowing your purpose, your mission, vision, being clear on your values, it's super important. Understanding your why and in your messages, in your communication, really clearly showing your brand identity, your brand personality, and the purpose. It is super important, especially in very challenging situation that we all live in. We are more and more drawn towards people who have a clear purpose, have a clear values, who are transparent and authentic about who they are, who understand their why. And especially in organizations where multiple people that are managing social media, creating content, you want to be clear on these things so that when you have a new volunteer, when you're outsourcing social media, whatever it is, that you actually can be very clear on this is who we are, this is our purpose, this is our mission and vision, these are our values, this is the personality that the brand has. These will be the words and phrases and keywords that we use, and these will be the topics that we don't support, and this will be our why. So the second question is probably the most important one. It is your audience. It's who are the people that you're trying to reach? Who are the people you're trying to connect with? Because from this information, from this piece of information, everything else will be supported by. If you don't know who your customers are, if you don't know who are the people that you're trying to reach, you will be shooting just blank, trying to reach everyone and actually not resonating with anyone. They're especially in business when I'm teaching small businesses, they often say, well, everybody's our customer. You are super clear in your organizations on the fact that you have a very niche group of people that would be the ideal people that you and only you can support. And this comes to really understanding and listening who they are, what they need, and how you can support them. And you do that in your day-to-day lives when you're interacting and communicating with them. And it is so important on social media as well. And if you remember at the beginning, I said that social media is not about you. Ultimately, social media is about them. It is about your customers and how you can serve them, support them, help them better, more. And social media is a fantastic place if you find out more about them, to learn who they are, what they need, how you can support them. And you can do it by listening. You can listen before you actually start talking, because then you know what language and what words, what challenges they're having, and you can use the same phrases, the same words to communicate with them and to really resonate with them. You can listen so you can then answer people's questions. If you're interested in them and really ask them questions, again, on social media as much as in real life, people will find you a lot more interesting and they will connect with you a lot more, and they will then become a supporter and advocate. And it will really help you to understand your audience and be clear and more strategic and more efficient at what you do. So when you're asking questions, you obviously want to be genuinely interested. When I recommend people to ask questions on social media, because social media as a type of a content, it works fantastically. You really need to show that you are genuinely interested, that when someone then has a reply, has a comment, that you interact with them and that you are genuinely curious about their answers, and you want to figure out how you can solve their problems with your social media presence. I know that you have a clear idea how you're solving problems, how you're solving people's problems in real life, how you're solving them when you work with them one-to-one in groups, but you also want to have a clarity on how can you solve their problems in your content, in your social media posts, in your interactions. And you want to show up regularly to build trust, because people, especially on social media, it takes us a while to really connect with a brand, to really connect with someone. And only when we see someone 5, 7, 10 times, we see their content, we engage with the content, only then we're starting to get this brand awareness. We're starting to connect with the brand, understand what the charity, what the organization is doing, if it's for us, and how it can help us. So you want to show up regularly to build trust, because people buy, or in your case, people work with people they know, love, and trust. And even more in charities, it is important to really connect with people on the deeper level so they can really trust you, because lots of the situations, lots of the services, and lots of the support that you are providing are around things that can be quite challenging, can be very stressful for people, can be very personal. So really allowing people to get to know you. Again, we talked about your why, understanding your mission, vision, your purpose, who you are as an organization, as a brand, but also as each individual within the organization, as you as a volunteer representative of an organization. So they can like you and ultimately love you and connect with you. And only then they will learn to trust you. Trust has to be earned, especially on social media with so much hate, so much fake news, with so much noise. Building trust on social media with your content and your engagement is super important for your success. And that means that you need to put in the time and effort. And we're back at the beginning where I said it's not free, because you're starting to see that there is a lot more to really doing social media well and getting the results that you are hoping to get, that it is a lot of time and effort that it requires to do social media well, to understand it, to be able to do it well. So you want to really understand in terms of your ideal clients, customers, again, define them as you want. And you might, as I said, have multiple customer personas, how we call it. You may have the one are the people that you're serving, the people you're helping. The next one could be the people who are supporting you. It can be your trustees, can be people who give you money. It could be volunteers. It could be any other group. And the third group could be the general public, because you want to raise awareness of your incredible job, what you do, who you are, who you help with the general public. And for each of these groups, you want to have a clarity on their demographic. So, what would be their age, their behavior? It could be where they live, how they work, what they prefer to read as a book or listen to as a TV show. And you can really want to look into their demographic, into their behavior, as well as into their psychographic, which is what are their interests, what are their opinions, where are they in terms of their thinking, what are they passionate about, and really try to get a picture so you can really say that our person, our customer, the person that we are helping is, let's call her Anna, and she's certain age and she has kids or doesn't have kids, and she works or doesn't work, and she lives here or there, and it matters or it doesn't matter where she lives, and she might have these challenges, and she might have these interests and these opinions, and she might associate herself or define herself in religious ways, in political ways, in economical ways, in certain um, ways. And this information will really help you to be able to then resonate with you. Because really understanding clearly your clients will then inform your decisions on which platforms, channels, individual marketing tactics you should be using, what content, tone of voice, what personality, how you match with your values with this person. And then it will help you to create your digital marketing funnel and work on your offering, promotion, sales, messages, recruitment, whatever it is. So really knowing who your customers are, who are the people you're working with, it's super important. Because, as I said, it then informs the third question of your strategy, and that's where, which platforms. Where on social media you should be is where your ideal customers are. If you don't know who they are, you don't know where you should be. Now we will quickly go through the major social media channels and some of the new ones and look at a little bit of their demographics, their features. So you have an overview of actually what is out there and what might be the right platform for you in terms of not only the demographics, but maybe also by the functionalities and the quirks and the algorithms and some of the tools and the abilities of these platforms. So the first one is Instagram. It has a huge follower base, it's a huge user base, so it's definitely a place where pretty much anyone can find their right audience, especially when it comes to stories, because one of the features of Instagram are Instagram stories. It was the first story platform that was out there. And definitely, it's a place to consider for lots of organizations because of the really incredible growth that this platform has been experiencing for the past almost 5 years now. Since 2016, Instagram is one of the fastest in terms of like consistently growing platforms. It is fairly equal in terms of the genders. You can find a little more female over male users there, but it is pretty much equal. It used to be quite a young platform, but now with arrival of younger, newer platforms like TikTok, Instagram is getting very much the middle range. From you can find lots of users from the age of 18 up to 50s, even older. So it can be for a wide variety of people. It's interesting because Instagram definitely is very much visual. It is a platform for photos and videos, and you can see that there's lots of content about food, about lifestyle, about fashion, about travel, all the visually appealing things. But in the last couple of years, even service-based providers, even charities who work more with the storytelling, more with the stories of their users, of their customers, of their people, are actually doing pretty well on Instagram. And the interesting stat is that 62% of people actually become more interested in a brand or a service after seeing it in stories. So not only Instagram as the grid posts, but also the stories by itself can be a very big driver of awareness and interaction. There's lots of to be said about, commenting and conversations in direct messages, as well as never-ending row of new features from Instagram Live, IGTV, Reels, guides, all the new e-commerce, shopping features, stickers. We could do a whole session on Instagram. It is a fantastic platform, but one note to say, Instagram is quite demanding. Instagram will need a lot of your attention, a lot of quite cleverly done work in terms of hashtag research, really creativity behind your visuals and your copy, because Instagram is quite popular. So the competition in terms of how many posts are being published every second, it's quite high. Next one is LinkedIn, which is a completely different platform from Instagram. It's a professional networking platform, and here you can find a completely different range of people. It has a smaller user base, but quite engaged in specific niche group. It is fairly gender balanced, but you will find a little bit more male over female. And it is an older platform, so you'll find more people 30 up to 60, 70s on this platform. And LinkedIn is a fantastic place because it started really as a professional platform. So it is more driven towards conversations with professionals, conversation on behalf of organizations rather than simple fun entertainment, cute kitty, doggy, baby videos that you would find for example, Facebook. Lots of people in the C-suite, senior management, higher income or organizations, higher income people will be on LinkedIn, which could make LinkedIn a very interesting platform for you to find potential investors, trustees, sponsors, whoever might be able to help you, as well as to get some interesting PR opportunities to really showcase who you are, what you do, and attract the this kind of professional audience. Facebook is a platform that a lot of you have mentioned, and it makes so much sense because Facebook is the number one, it's the biggest, the oldest, it's the most known social media platform out there. Where you can see that pretty much anyone and everyone these days will be on Facebook, but there are a few caveats to say on Facebook. Facebook has been getting a lot of negativity lately. You can see that Apple has been taking some actions against advertising and data tracking against Facebook. Lots of people have decided to boycott Facebook for one reason or the other. So even though they have a massive user base, you will see more and more people are actually leaving Facebook, especially the younger audience. So Facebook is becoming older and older in terms of who are the people using it, but also the way we use Facebook has evolved so much more over the especially past year or so, where Facebook used to be a lot about your news feed, about the timeline where the posts from your friends and family, as well as brands and companies, as well as some advertisement were visible. Now Facebook is mainly used via Messenger, so people use the separate Facebook Messenger app to communicate with each other, be it one-to-one in groups, to have video chats, voice chats, conversations, private, or Facebook groups are still super popular and are probably the number one feature of Facebook that really attracts people right now. You know from the statistics that over 1.4 billion people use Facebook groups, which is even more than half of the user base. And lots more people will say that they only use Facebook groups, that they don't go to their feed, they don't watch what's out there, because Facebook has started segmenting its content into different features. So groups is one feature. Facebook Watch is another feature where you can see videos. It's Facebook's attempt to do YouTube, where you don't get to see any other type of content other than video. And lots of these videos will be quite the viral type things where it's very fast paced, it's very entertaining. Even though you can have long form Facebook content, you can do Facebook Live. Facebook is a platform that is quite challenging to get traction on right now because of all these changes. And obviously, Facebook has been on purpose killing the organic reach, meaning how many people you can reach without spending money on ads, because obviously they really, really wanted more people to spend money on ads. So Facebook is a platform that is still top of popularity, but at the same time, it is a platform that is quite challenging to get traction and really make work for a business at this point. If we're talking about your Facebook page, Facebook groups, they work completely differently than the Facebook page. They're private, they're smaller, they're engaged, they're community driven, they're usually not public, and they work pretty well for now. Next platform is Twitter. And that's the odd one in the mix, in my opinion, because Twitter has been really struggling with a growth of these users. It's been stagnating for the past couple of years, and not so many new users have been joining, which means that the user base is getting in the middle to older ages, because no young people are joining Twitter over recently. There are certain countries where Twitter is a lot more popular. For example, lots of users will be American, Japan or UK are quite high on there. And people use Twitter for quite specific purposes. So they will go often to Twitter to see news. Obviously, we see Twitter as the newsworthy app where in the fast-paced environment with the trending hashtags, they really tell us what's happening in around the world. But surprisingly, which not too many companies, organizations are still using, is Twitter is quite heavily visual. A lot of people go to Twitter to view photos or watch videos, which is quite interesting because there still is a lot of opportunity for people to utilize Twitter video, and Twitter, they call it different version of live. And obviously now Twitter's jumping on the audio bandwagon with Twitter Spaces. We'll talk about Clubhouse in a second. So it's interesting platform. It has its quirks, and if anyone is interested in Twitter specifically, I can answer your questions, but I will just get it out there that Twitter might not be the right choice for everyone. Pinterest is in the mix just because it's a super popular platform, but I might not call it specifically social media platform, because for me, social media network means a place where you socialize, where not only you see the content, but you also socialize. Pinterest is more of a search engine. It's a content creativity platform. It's a place where you go when you want to get some inspiration, when you want to do some DIY, when you want to look for fashion, travel tips, cooking, health, and beauty. You can see it's heavily skewed towards the female audience, which makes so much sense because lots of women will use it to plan their life moments like weddings and travels and babies. And this, they will use it to inform their purchasing decisions. So Pinterest is great for organizations that have product that they can use to drive traffic to their product. So that's why I am including it in there, because it's an incredible platform with lots of powers for organizations, but it is definitely a lot more beneficial for product-based organizations. TikTok is not the new kid on the block anymore, but one of the newest ones. It's been very much growing. I think they even have more than the 800 million active users worldwide now. It is quite female driven, but you will see both genders represented quite equally there. It is very kind of equal driven platform. So we'll see lots of people of different orientations, of different races, different backgrounds. It is a platform for, it's a platform kind of designed and driven by people of all sorts of walks of life, but it is heavily driven by the younger audience. It is very popular among even under 18-year-olds, but the 18 to 24, even 35, it's coming there slowly, especially since the pandemic. TikTok has been a lot more popular among what's called millennials, this generation that right now will be in their 20s, 30s, 40s. So definitely TikTok is an interesting app to consider. It is pure video, fast paced, very much entertainment or educational entertainment. It has amazing content creation filters and functionalities. It is not only for lip syncing and dancing. There is lots of educational content. You can have like talking head, explanation, animation videos, stand-up comedy, and stuff like. There's a lot you can do on TikTok, but the creativity that needs to go into the videos, understanding the algorithm, understanding how to go viral, understanding the features, it's quite high. So similar to what I said with Instagram, TikTok is a fantastic place, but it is one of the more demanding platforms for you to be successful at. On the other hand, LinkedIn is one of those platforms that actually you don't need to do that much and be that so creative, so out of the box creative to really get traction compared to TikTok. And the last one I wanted to touch on is Clubhouse, which is the new kid on the block. It really gained popularity over the Christmas at the beginning of this year. It's an audio only, so no video. It's pure conversations. You have rooms and you can talk from 2 people to hundreds and thousands of people. It has a little bit of a structure where there are people on the panel talking and the rest is listening, and then you can join in the panel if you have a question. There are no direct messages. There are no tools to distract you for the time being. You cannot record the content, so it's real time in the moment, no replay for the time being. It has launched on Android only this month, and there is still a little bit of an invitation needed. So it's a little bit of an elitist app for people who have iPhones or who really, really wanted to be there. But it's an interesting platform in terms of accessibility, because for one perspective, it's very accessible and not friendly because you have no videos, you have no support for people with hearing aids and stuff like that. But at the same time, it is a platform that gets our attention in a very different way from the others, that allows us to not be visually stimulated all the time, that allows us to even close our eyes or go use the app and engage with the content as we go without really needing to put all our attention, our visual attention to it. So it is an interesting platform. What I wanted to make sure that all of you know, and it was interesting that some of you have mentioned that you should be some on the other platforms, that do you think that you should utilize all of them? No, I really want you to remember that you don't have to be everywhere. I really want small businesses and people in organizations like yours, in charities, I give you the permission not to be everywhere. I allow you and I recommend you to focus. Pick one main platform and one supporting platform. Don't try to be everywhere. It gets super overwhelming when you try to be everywhere. And as I went through all the platforms, you see there's lots of functionalities, there's lots to consider, there's lots to deal with that you might want to consider. So that's why having only one platform to choose from, it's definitely advisable. Someone has their microphone on, so I will just quickly stop sharing. and make sure that you all lovely people are muted so we don't get any background noise and no one is interrupted. I will take this as an opportunity also to encourage you. If you have questions, if you have concerns, if you want to know something specific about something I said, please use the chat, type in something, we will get back to it. I know it's a lot. I know I'm talking fast, I'm covering a lot. I have a time limit on it, but I want to make sure that at the end of the session, you will get your answers to all the questions that you have. So back to the session. Don't try to be everywhere and pick one main platform and one supporting platform. Or some of you might know the Pareto's rule, 80-20. I narrow it down even more. I say 10-90. Focus on 90% of your effort into doing one thing remarkably well and use the remaining 10% for experimenting. So don't try to be everywhere. Pick one platform, one type of content, one approach, and really invest time and dedicate at least 6 months, a year to doing this thing and figuring out this one thing until you feel that you've understood it, you've mastered it, it's working well. Only then you should start looking for more platforms. There might be cases where you have different audiences and different people on different platforms that might require different approaches, and that's okay. As I said, you might have certain people who you're helping and they will be more likely to be on Facebook, and then you still want to get more followers who could be your volunteers and they might be more on Instagram. And at the same time, you know that the people who give you money, the people who might be your trustees, who might give you sponsorships, who might support you, will be on LinkedIn. In that case, you want to have kind of platform specific approach. You want to have a clear understanding. How are you using each platform to reach a specific group of people who fit within a specific customer persona, let's say, for you? And you will have a specific content plan for that as well. So that was the step number 3, where, on which platforms. Number 4 is what? It is the content, it is the substance that you're actually sharing. And we will have a specific session about content planning in September. Or if you want to jump straight into it, I'm sure there is a recording of an older session that I've done a while ago for Cambridge Online about content planning on the YouTube channel. So in the follow-up email, I'll make sure to add links to all of these things for you. So we will quickly touch on the content now, but I wanted to make sure that you know that if content is really the thing you want to know, there is more content available, more training available online on YouTube, as well as there will be a session like this in September. And in the session in September, I will be walking step by step through this content marketing master plan, 7 steps. It might look like a lot, but once we break it out, it's quite easy. And you can already see that some of the steps will kind of follow up on this session. That again, number 2 is audience, and talking about what we just talked about, the importance of understanding your ideal customers, their pains and needs, their customer journey, and how you can really solve their problems on social media with your content. But today, I wanted to give you just a couple pointers for content. The first one is to create valuable content that your prospects, the people that you want to work with, the people that you're trying to connect with, that will love. So we're going back to it's not about you, it is about them. And it's more about the quality over quantity. So we really want to be focusing on creating high quality, creative, meaningful, valuable content on less intense schedule than rather than putting a lot of okay, mediocre content out there. Because platform algorithms, as well as people, value valuable content, meaningful, high quality content more than just kind of any content. So that's a great news for you because you don't need to post 3 times a day. You don't need to even post 3 times a week. If all you can manage is one great post a week, that's it. That's enough. That's fantastic. Obviously, we will talk in a little while about your goals, and depending on your goals, you might need to do a little more than that. But if all you can manage at this point in time is one good post a week, that's it. That's perfect. That's enough. Your content then can be divided into content buckets, and your generic kind of the buckets usually will be education, entertainment and engagement, inspiration, and promotion or convincing content, let's say. And into these buckets, you can then think of lots of different types of content to fill. Education could be how to's, it could be tips and tricks and advice and online training. This could be educational training. You can have entertaining and engaging content that's more about you, your team, your people, your stories, some of the inside jokes, some entertainment, some conversations, question and answers, stuff like that. Your inspirational content could be from people you look up to, you draw inspiration from. It could be, again, stories of people who succeeded, who did something incredible, who overcame obstacles, adversity. It could be something that really makes us feel uplifted. And the promotional up sales convincing content, it is important. It is important to make sure that you are clearly informing people about who you are, what you do, how you can help them, how they can work with you, how does it work working with you, where they can reach out to you, where they can meet you. All the things could fit under the convince sale promotional bucket. So it could be that your educational content is showcasing your expertise. In your entertaining and inspiring content, you will be playing into your brand values, personality, mission, vision, purpose. We talked about that, as well as you will ask questions and really build the relationship. In the inspirational content, it can be quotes from inspiring people, stories of inspiring people. It can be frequently asked questions and answers to them. It could be testimonials that you have received from your customers, from your people. And in the sales content, you can use your product service. If you have digital product, if you have any online training, that's a product per se. It doesn't matter if it's free or paid, it's a product. Your service, one-to-one support, group support, any kind of call to action, any kind of event, that's part of it. And you can see that there are four buckets, and you would want your content plan to be balanced. So you would want two, three, four pieces of content that are educational, entertaining, engaging, and only one in the mix to be promotional, kind of heavily driven by the promotion. And you want to play to your strengths. There's again so much that you could be doing. You will see anyone and everyone recommending that you should do video, that you should do podcast, that you should do carousel slideshow posts, that you should do animations. There's lots of shoulds being thrown around and lots of things that you think you need to be doing. But I really want you to think about and understand, what are your strengths? What are you really good at? What are the skills that you have in your organization? And play into your strengths. Do you have someone who's brilliant at drawing? Use drawing. You use hand created, hand drawn posts, for example. Are you good with words? Can you type and tell a story and use the written word? Use that. Are you comfortable on video? Do you have someone who is great with video? Do that. Do you have someone who really can talk but doesn't feel comfortable on camera, but maybe they can talk and they can do podcasts, they can do Clubhouse, they can create audio content? Do that. You don't need to do everything. You can only do what comes natural to you and really hone your craft. And even though lots of people will say that you have to do video on social media because you connect better with video, video is great and it definitely has its place. But if you hate doing video, if you don't know how to do video, if it takes so much of your headspace and your time, people will be able to tell, compared to if you love writing and you write a brilliant piece of content, blog post, an email, update, people will be able to tell and resonate if you hated doing that or if you loved doing this. So play into your strengths. You don't need to do all the things. You don't need to do everything other people are telling you. You simply need to play into your strengths. But you can play around with different content formats. We talked about video, it can be talking head, it can be animation, it can be audio, it can be podcast, voice messages. You can have the wave kind of animation over voice. So it can look that it's just an image, but there's actually voice. It can be simple text, blog storytelling, short form, kind of anecdotes. It could be visual, it could be photos, graphic, drawings, kind of designs, infographics, slideshows, anything. You want to play around with different forms, but as I said, play into your strengths. Couple kind of tips on content in general. If possible, you want to show your face or your team's face or your customer's face or any kind of genuine real people's face, especially on visual platforms like Instagram. People's faces and real photos of real people are working so much better than any other behind any other kind of content that's maybe stock photo or things or places. People's photos will work the best. You can show people behind the scenes, making of kind of lots of platforms, especially the stories feature, Instagram stories, LinkedIn stories, Facebook stories, Twitter fleet is the alternative on Twitter. This short form, fast paced content can be quite raw. It doesn't need to be polished, it doesn't need to be perfect. This device that you have in your pocket, your smartphone camera, could be absolutely enough for that. And you can show behind the scenes of making of what's going on. And that will also help to inspire user generated content, meaning to get your followers, people you're working with, your volunteers, your trustees to help you create a content and get them to be the creators of your content. You can create funny and emotive content, tell the stories, tell jokes. You can use content to get better at understanding of your audience and their needs and pains. We talked about it a lot. You can look at trending topics or awareness days. Like, for example, tomorrow is the social media day. We're celebrating social media. We had International Women's Day. We have June is Pride Month. So there's lots of trending topics. There's lots of news coming out that you can keep an eye on and align your content with. You can voice your opinion. If it's within your brand personality, you can be controversial, especially on LinkedIn, kind of quite opinionated pieces that really clearly state your purpose, your values, and where you stand work quite well if you are able to handle kind of facilitated conversation, if you are able to deal with people disagreeing with you, but it can create some very meaningful, deep conversations, which leads to engagement, which leads obviously to growth of your followers and web traffic and all the other goals that you might be pursuing. And you want to use all the interactive features that these platforms are allowing you. It can be polls where people can vote for different options, it can be stickers on stories, it can be live video. Again, play into your strengths, but at the same time, be playful and explore all the functionalities and features available to you. And we're almost there. We'll add the last step of how much, meaning your goals. And this is a quite important question because understanding your goals will inform your decisions about the frequency and intensity of your campaign. How much do you need to post? How frequently? And what results do you really need to get to achieve your goals? And what resources you will need to dedicate to be able to achieve those goals. Because obviously, not everyone will need to have tens of thousands of followers or millions of followers in most cases, because you're local and you work on a smaller scale. Having hundreds or a couple thousands of followers, it's great. And what you really want is to have highly engaged followers. So, watching for meaningful metrics that actually tell you that someone cares is more important than chasing the vanity metrics, which could be the number of followers. So, for example, if one of your goals could be raise brand awareness, make more people aware of who we are, what we do, who we help. If your goal is brand awareness, you will be measuring metrics like reach and impressions. You will be measuring metrics like likes, comments, shares, and stuff like that. Really, all these things play a role into the brand awareness that shows that someone, if they liked your content, if they commented or shared it, they have seen it, they have kind of consciously have been aware of it, and then you can kind of take them and say, okay, you are aware of your brand. You can measure engagement. You really, maybe one of your metrics, one of your goals is to increase your engagement. And when it comes to engagement, your metrics will probably be comments, really measuring how many comments you get, but not only the volume, but the quality, the depth of conversations, and the length of conversations, kind of how many back and forth comments can people with you or with each other have under your posts. It can be also engagement, of course, likes and reactions on posts, video views, video view completions. It can be direct messages, can be shares or shares into stories, stuff like that. So you can see that there are lots to think about when it comes to goals, but it's important to consider which metrics are actually meaningful and tell you something about the quality and the interest of the people who are following and engaging with you, rather than simply chasing big numbers of people. When you're thinking about setting up your goals, you can use the acronym SMART, which is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So you can think if the metric that you're setting to yourself, is it specific? Am I clear enough? Is it measurable? Can I really measure this? Is it attainable or achievable? Is this something that I can achieve? Realistic is very much similar to it. Is it realistic for me to achieve this within the time period, which is what the T stands for, within the time period? And you want to start when you're setting up your goals with an audit to understand where you are right now, because only if you know where you are right now and you have a clarity on where you want to go, you know what needs to happen in between. Because if you're here and you want to go here, then the effort and the activity that you need to make in between will be different than if you're here and want to go here or even up there. So understanding where you are right now will help you then be clear and plan what you need to do to get to where you want to go. So we're on the final stretch, just a couple reminders kind of to wrap it up the session. From my experience, there are two key pillars to organic marketing or social media marketing, and they are content and engagement. And we talked about content a lot as well as engagement. But one thing that I want you to keep in mind is if you don't have time or capacity to do anything else, if you're really struggling, be it for a longer period of time or just for a couple of days or weeks, then be authentic and engage so people get to know you. It's probably the one thing to keep in mind. So if you should choose one or the other, content or engagement should always win. If you can't do anything else on your social media for the time being, other than comment and engage with other people, do that. Original content is great, high quality, regular, valuable content is important, but engagement is the queen and the king and the winner of them all on social media. Letting people comment on their posts, sharing their posts, engaging with their group posts, with their stories. That's the thing that really can help you raise your brand awareness and connect with people and get people then to start engaging with you and with your content. So if there's one slide to really, really remember, it's this one. Engage, engage, engage. If you want, take a screenshot, make it your screensaver, put it somewhere, put it on your desk or somewhere. Engage, engage, engage. That's the golden rule of social media. Because you, as I said, you want to be social. No one is coming to social media to be sold to in most cases. They want to be entertained, engaged. They want to have fun. In terms of content, that also means that schedule less and engage more. Post in real time, create and nourish conversations, inspire meaningful interactions, focus on the back and forth comments, strive for repeat views and visits, and build relationships and loyalty. Excuse me. We're oh, I'm losing voice. We are almost there. You want to be social. Oh, wow. I will do this for a second so I can get my voice back. I will hand over to you and let you have a discussion. I will read your chat. There is pretty much just one slide or two that I wanted to go through. And if you have any questions and comments, please go ahead, unmute yourself, have a chat, give me a moment to recover my voice.
I have also posted a link to a survey, an evaluation survey in the chat. If everyone could fill that out before the end of the session, that would be fantastic.
So I see a question from Andrew asking, could you please highlight some differences between standard business, commercial selling, and social media and charity social media? Could you specify a question, please? Could you give me a little bit more why, what are you after, if you're still here with us, Andrew?
Yes, of course. So I have a little bit of background, having worked as a social media manager before, not something big, and it was from a position of learning more than an actual results-driven position. And I feel like what you've covered here is very good, very knowledgeable, for a selling point of view, for a business point of view. And while I admit that there is a lot in common between how a business would have their social media with how charity would have their social media, I think there's a few differences. Solely the fact that we're not trying to sell something. We're trying to help people. We're trying to give out information and to try and receive information, specifically Health Watch. But I'm sure that everybody else here that is having their own service is not trying to promote us to sell, but trying to get out there, to be heard, and to be on the map, so to speak, so that people know to come to them. And I think that this is one of the challenges. And it, you know, and I can think of actual questions like how to better write a post, because what happens in my role is I write certain posts which are based on my previous experience, but they're not as well tailored for the charity environment, for the vulnerable adults environment, or people with learning disabilities, or I don't know, it depends on your audience really. It's just a very, I don't know if you've got any sort of input that's specifically to that. How do we get that kind of engagement? Because if people, you know, don't comment on your post, or you know, it's a bit, how do we get that ball rolling?
Yeah, so first of all, I absolutely understand that and agree that yes, there is a difference between traditional business approach to selling on social media and then charity simply helping. But ultimately, what you're trying to do in both roles is connect with people, be it in business, be it in customer facing business, be it in business to business, be it in charity. It's human to human. You as an organization, you are trying to connect with other human beings, a specific group of human beings. And that's important to remember, that it is about the person, the people that you're trying to connect. And you are trying to not sell to them, but you're trying to convert them. You're trying to convert them to be a follower, to be a part of your organization, to work with you, to want to accept your help, to be aware that you exist as an organization, that you can help them, and that they really want to trust you and work with you. So there are lots of similarities, and I still think that the approach can be pretty similar, and you are actually in much better positions and businesses to do so because you are not selling. But the approach is pretty much the same. You want to connect with people and you want to educate people. In terms of your kind of second question, in terms of the writing and stuff, you touched on it really nicely with you really need to understand who are the people you're trying to reach. You really want to understand, what are their needs and preferences? How do they behave? How do they specifically use social media? Which channels do they use specifically? What really resonates with them? And then what type of content it can be, that it's more written or video content, and then try and test and adjust what you do to suit their needs. That's why I will always put so much emphasis on social media. It's not about you, it's about them, or understanding your people. Your people is the best way to put it. But it is about really doing your due diligence, doing your research. Ask the people that you're currently working with, which social media channels you're using, what content would you like to see from us there, what would be helpful from us there, what resonates with you. And it might be that in lots of cases, it is challenging to have engagement publicly, be it the mental health issues, be it, sexual issues, be it health, be it poverty. There are lots of things that charities deal with that it's quite sensitive, and it might not be the public domain the best place to deal with it. It's where you have groups, you have Facebook groups, you have LinkedIn groups, you have different kind of social media forums, you have email newsletters, and kind of obviously the one-to-one conversations or direct messages that really allow you to go private. So often your public strategy might need to be slightly different. Your public strategy might be tailored towards helping your people, but at the same time might be using people connected to them. So sometimes you don't go straight for the person. Sometimes you go for the friend or the family member that, if it's an elderly person, you might go for the kids and grandkids to help them. If it's someone who has been abused, maybe you might need to look for the one person they are most likely to trust to kind of bring your content, your existence to their attention, be it different kind of groups. So it might not be that you are directly talking to the person. You might also be talking to people close to them. Or you might again be talking to the general public to bring out the awareness so more of them are aware and more of them can point the right people to you. You have a challenging job in terms of sometimes finding the right people. Hope this was helpful and gave you some sort of a clarity on your question, Andrew.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Pat has asked, how do you set up a LinkedIn account? So on LinkedIn, you have two types of accounts. Obviously, you have your personal profile. And the LinkedIn terms of service say that one person can have only one account. It's like Facebook. So on LinkedIn, you first go to linkedin.com and you set up a personal profile for you as a human being. Once you have your LinkedIn account set up, you can then set up a page. Similar on Facebook, you can then set up a page. On LinkedIn as well, you can then go and create a company page. And then you can invite all your team members or your colleagues to manage this page, to post on behalf of this page. So there are two steps to setting up a LinkedIn account. First one, you will always have to set up a personal account for you as a human being, as a professional. And then as you can set up, create multiple pages as well as groups. But you ask more, I'm guessing you're asking more about the page. And from there, you can invite other people with their personal profiles and they can manage and you can kind of take care of this page together, which is similar to how Facebook works.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. Natasha is asking, what would be the most engaging way to advertise a new job role? And would you suggest that LinkedIn would be the best platform to do this on? Depends on what the job role is for. If it's a professional role for people, for is it a graduate job? Is it a high paying job? Is it a very skillful job? LinkedIn is definitely in the top of being place for job ads, but also some jobs might be more suitable for Instagram, for Facebook, for Twitter. I don't think so. Maybe, yeah, Facebook or Instagram. You might want to post into specific Facebook groups. You might want to do the research and look for, again, depending who is the person and where is the person from. You might want to go to local groups, to local communities and post the job in there. Or you want to go and create, in terms of the engaging way, obviously you want to have fun with it. You want to showcase the company culture, especially if it's younger person that you're hiring for. Talking about Gen Zs and millennials, definitely this kind of groups of people are very much driven by the purpose, by the company value, by the social corporate responsibility, by being eco-friendly, by being aware, and all these things. Really showing not only the role will, has these expectations, you will do these tasks, but really talk about or show in pictures and videos and, examples of what it is to belong to your organization and how it feels to be part of your company. Hope this helps.
Yes, thank you very much. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Also, I'd say on the LinkedIn question, Lenka, you did a session specifically on mastering LinkedIn. And again, we have a YouTube video of that session on our YouTube.
Yeah, I thought so. I just wanted to mention just in case I did a training for someone else.
Yeah, no, I checked. I checked.
Yeah, so we'll definitely add the link to it for those of you who are interested specifically in LinkedIn. You can watch it. I will quickly go back to my slides and just finish just literally 2-3 more slides that I couldn't finish back then. The most important slide kind of is build a community. That's kind of the difference between lots of businesses and you as a charity, that you actually have a much more stronger core of a community members where you can turn your customers, your people, again, the customers could be replaced by your people, into advocates and loyal fans, and you can make them the heroes of your stories if it's appropriate. But community is an interesting word that's been thrown around quite a lot lately, but what it means is the people not only communicate with you, but you can also enable them to communicate with each other, which lots of your organizations are actually doing, that you're not only helping people one-to-one or you helping them, but you're actually allowing and enabling people to connect with each other and support each other and be there for each other in so many different ways. And this is so important, especially what we've learned in the pandemic, how our communities, our people, be it physically close to us, but also virtually, what we can do for each other, how can we really help each other. And that's it. That's all of it. I have one more thing I wanted to talk to you about. You might not know that I'm also running Cambridge Social Media, which is a free community, is a free group. You can find us on Facebook, or you can find us on the website, which is cambridgesocial.media. And if you really want to learn more about social media marketing and how to leverage it for your organization, we have a ton of free social media training. We've been running weekly free training sessions since the beginning of the pandemic. Before that, we were running free monthly meetups in Cambridge, but since we are now completely online for the time being, you can find lots of brilliant training all about PR, handling crisis communication, as well as specific advice about Instagram, LinkedIn, building communities, advertising, content creation, all of it. You will find it on our website.